Hey, what's going on guys, Khraze here. Welcome back to another Cyberpunk 2077 news and gameplay video. Today, let's go over some more interesting details about, well, everything regarding this game. It seems that CD Projekt Red is a little bit in trouble with the Polish authorities. Well, we're gonna explain that in this video. We do have some more details about the band that played, well, not really, but they did play Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk 2077, and of course, finally we have brand new details from one of the lead quest designers on Cyberpunk 2077. He explains a little bit more his work on the game and how excited he is for the future of Cyberpunk in general. So let's dive right into it, and as always, if you enjoyed this video at any point, it would be super awesome if you also left a like on this video. But let's begin with a pretty interesting news article over here regarding the Polish Office of Competition and Consumer Protection, which apparently will monitor the progress of the game to see if CD Projekt Red will comply in delivering what they promised, as in a stable working version of the game. Otherwise, they might be risking up to 10% fine of the income they made the entirety of the previous year. Now, of course, this is all a rough translation, so it has been translated with the available tools, but we will go over it nonetheless. So it seems that, well, the available authorities will check progress on amendments to Cyberpunk 2077. And while the game ratings for the PC version are good or even very good despite the visible bugs, the console version turned out to be very disappointing. For some, even unplayable, which is why there were a lot of players asking for refunds, and Sony even decided to completely remove the game from the PlayStation Store, as we already know. In the background, there was also the topic of a significant drop in CDPR stock exchange quotation and even a class action lawsuit against the company. The Polish authorities are now joining in the growing list of those interested in Cyberpunk 2077, and we also have a few words over here from one of the spokespersons. So as they've said, it is primarily about checking the progress of work on the promised fixes, which will make the console version of the game take the desired shape, and about the policy of the aforementioned returns. So according to the code right here, we asked the entrepreneur to explain the problems with the game and the actions taken by him. We will check how the manufacturer is working on introducing corrections or solving difficulties that prevent the game from playing on different consoles, but also how it is intended to act in relation to people who have complained and are dissatisfied with the purchase due to the inability to play the game on their equipment despite the manufacturer's previous assurances. And yeah, despite the fact that this sounds like some really bad news for CD Projekt Red, at the same time it can only be good for all of the consumers out there, for all the players who either played the game, purchased it, or even refunded it in the process. On the long run, this is probably going to be the best outcome. And to be honest, as a EU citizen, I really enjoy the fact that we have a lot of consumer protection over here in the EU. Even like EA and other big companies had a ton of problems with microtransactions and their really shady tactics. So if you come in the EU to screw over consumers, you're probably going to have a pretty bad time. And CD Projekt Red is kind of getting the full blast right now. Not only are they a company based in the EU, they also have to abide by EU laws, and it seems that Poland is not messing around one bit. Now, how dire is the situation right now for CD Projekt Red? Well, it's looking pretty bad. It seems that they might even impose a pretty hefty fine, up to 10% of its annual income for the previous year, obviously. So at the moment, it is difficult to conclude whether CDPR will be punished. The decision in this case will depend on what explanation will be given to the authorities, to the representatives in the above cases. The company will certainly not underestimate it, because by the decision of the president of the Office of Competition and Consumer Protection, it may be fined by up to 10% of its annual income, and this is obviously the darkest scenario from CDPR's point of view. And keep in mind that the game made about 600 million plus for CDPR just in the month of December, so that's going to be a pretty hefty sum of money. I don't think we have the annual report yet for 2020, but they probably made a ton of money in 2020. maybe even 2019, but I think that the fine is going to apply for 2020 income, and this is for the entire income, not just the profits. So they can't just hide the profits and make up expenses to make up that. They will get a 10% fine for their entire annual income, which is probably going to leave a pretty big dent into their budget if they aren't too careful about this. But luckily enough, I think that they are going to turn this around and eventually get it going. We have the Q&A that we've explained a few days ago, and we also have a few more words from one of the lead quest designers for Cyberpunk 2077. So he actually came in on Twitter today and came in with some really interesting responses. Today marks 1 month since Cyberpunk 2077 released. Some already beat the game, plenty are still playing, nobody yet uncovered everything we have prepared. It took years for The Witcher 3, so it will take quite long for this game too. I love observing this process. No other game in my career took so much heart and dedication. Past 30 days I have been reading comments, watching videos, and learning. I know there's always something that can be done better, and if not better, you can do more of what was received well by an audience, always. But I want you to know that you are being heard. Patches released so far prove it. Have in mind that not everything can be addressed instantly. I have received thousands of messages. You are killing the battery on my phone, but I read all of them even when it hurts. Thank you for the first 30 days of Cyberpunk 2077. If you want to take time to write your feedback, I would be pleased to read it. Thank you for playing. And that is pretty much the message right here. So pretty wholesome, of course. We followed this Twitter account for quite a bit at this point, and yeah, this is like just one of the people who worked on the game. No reason to send hate their way. Of course, the management is the one that actually brought the situation upon itself, but actually the people who worked on the game were there all the way in the hardship, in the hard times, and they put in all the blood, sweat, and tears into this game. Now, on the final note, there's one thing that I want to talk about, a little bit of a curiosity right here, and that is the fact that the band that plays the samurai band in the game didn't actually know that Keanu Reeves would be a singer, quote-unquote, in the game, so they didn't even know about Keanu Reeves' involvement in the game. So if you didn't know about this, the band Samurai in Cyberpunk 2077 is actually played and voiced by members of the band called Refused, which is a real-world band. I think it's from Sweden. They are a hardcore punk kind of band, and there was even a trailer showcasing the process of recording many of the sounds in the game, including chipping in and a ton of other ones that are pretty important. So the band that plays the music for the Samurai band had no idea that Keanu Reeves was even involved. Even more so, the fact that Keanu Reeves, or well, Johnny Silverhand, is the lead singer in the band Samurai, and this always kind of puzzled me a little bit. Like, you hear Johnny, how he sounds in regular speech, and then when he sings, it's a completely different kind of voice, because the two actors, well, in this case, the lead singer in Refused and Keanu Reeves, sound completely different from one another, like so different that it's kind of a little bit immersion breaking, but I'm just gonna let it pass for now. They didn't even dream that they would see Keanu Reeves stroll up next to them at E3. I believe that this was back in 2018. So it just goes to show you that someone can be an icon in their own right, but then completely be taken back by another legend rolling out of nowhere. So yeah, this is basically what happens. When we wrote the song, we didn't know that it was Keanu Reeves playing Johnny Silverhand, according to the main singer. It was all super secretive, and we didn't find until he was introduced at some gaming event and came out to chipping in. And yeah, that was pretty wild, according to his own words. I'm not a gamer, I didn't know anything about it, so I just kind of passed it on to my management, and they were like, holy smokes, this is big time. It turned out to be both the director of the game and the whole team that were huge fans. So yeah, that was actually a pretty interesting read. But that is it with today's news about Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, hopefully we're gonna get a patch in the next week or two, and if it happens, we are going to be covering here on this channel. So if you want to see more of that, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.